This program is brought to you by Connie Dodo of Connie Dodo Realty Group, 119 Pleasant Street, Methuen. When you want results, don't make a move without us.
Welcome to Dodo Real Estate View. My name is Connie Dodo, and I'm the owner of Connie Dodo Realty Group, located here in Methuen on 119 Pleasant Street. I've been helping buyers and sellers for the past 13 years purchase homes in the community. We are excited to be back here and look forward to providing you with programs that help you and your families get into homes and understand the facts versus fiction on home ownership. We also would like to give back to the community. For the past 2 years, they've embraced the company, and we would like to contribute to everybody in the community. We will be offering you gift certificates from different establishments, such as it could be a coffee shop, it could be an apple pies, it could be game tickets. So what we'll be doing over the next year, starting in January, is giving you hints of the locations that we'll be at. But you have to stay tuned to this TV program to understand where we'll be. So it's the first 50 people that walk through the doors of those establishments that will get the free gift. And like I said, it could be a free pizza as well. So I'm going to continue on. We have our guest here, who's Trudy Lawler, who's the owner of Michaud Insurance Company here in Methuen, and she's also the president of Methuen-Salem Rotary Club. Thank you for coming today, Trudy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Maybe if you could give us a little brief snapshot of your company. Obviously, it's insurance. And
Sure.
how long, and you've been in the community. I know you've been in the community a long time.
We've been in the community since 1979, so it's
Wow.
been 33 years now.
Wow.
We started out in Lawrence, and in 1995, we moved to Methuen. We're on Haverhill Street, on 105 Haverhill Street, actually right next door to the YMCA, where Ann Whalen is. So it was originally owned by my father, and I worked for him until 1985 when I bought the business from him and he retired. So it's been a long time.
It's a family business.
It's a family business. Now my daughter's there, and hopefully she'll take over someday as well. So it's great, yeah.
That's nice. I mean, it is a family business. I have to say, personally, I have my insurance there, and there's not a time that even if it's on a weekend or whatever, if there's happens to be a car accident, I pick up the phone and call, and I always get a response. So that's always nice to have that type of relationship when you're in the middle of a crisis.
Absolutely.
With that, that you can pick up the phone and have an answer to it. So. What type of insurances do you offer?
Well, we do personal insurance, so that'd be home, auto, boat, motorcycle, snowmobile. We even do airplanes, anything that jewelry. I mean, usually would add that onto a homeowner's policy, but there's anything of value that needs to be insured. We insure on the personal side, and then we also insure commercial. And that could be a business, it could be commercial property, rental property, contractors, plumbing, heating, electrical, just anyone that's running a business that needs insurance.
Mm-hmm. In terms of when you say like plumbing, heating, I mean, when you insure a home, encompasses the whole dwelling typically,
correct.
So it's just not each thing that's insured.
Right, but the actual plumber, they have to have liability. So when they're out working on someone's home or a business and installing or repairing plumbing, they have to be insured in case they do something wrong and damage your property, damage your home, or do something wrong. So it's a general liability policy that they carry. And then if they have employees, they have to have workers' comp for all of the employees working on the job in case they get hurt. So there are some mandates by the state that require them to have coverage. So, and then a lot of times they're required to have it by whatever contract they get to do the work. So it's a little different on the commercial side than it is on the homeowner, on the personal side. So we do
And you
both.
also, yeah, and you also offer like errors and omission.
That's true. There's a lot of, under the commercial side of things, there's so many different policies that people need now. There's the errors and omissions for professional people, and that can be like real estate, lawyers, it can be hairdressers. They need errors, they need professional liability if they hurt someone while they're cutting their hair. I mean, there's so many different things that you can't imagine. There's also, you know, employees suing their employer, there's liability for that. There's now there's, you know, breach of important information if your computers get broken into and they steal your data, and everyone knows that that's been going on with TJ Maxx, but it also happens in small companies as well. So there's coverage now for that. So there's a lot of every time something new, some new crime comes out, there's coverage for the businesses to purchase the coverage. There's also employee dishonesty, which is a big coverage. There's always employees, unfortunately,
What would that be?
stealing.
I mean, just what type of coverage would that be?
It's theft. It's theft if they're stealing money from your business. If you don't, a lot of times, a bookkeeper that you've had employed for a long time that you think would never steal from you has been stealing from you all along, and you can file a claim for that. It's not just, you know, stealing your coffee pot or something. It's usually stealing money, big money from you, and it happens a lot.
So there's insurance for that.
There absolutely is.
That must be a costly insurance, I would
It
think.
actually really isn't. It's based on, a lot of the times it's based on per employee, how big your company is. And sometimes you can get it right on your own business owner policy. If you're a small business, it's one of the endorsements they add right on, but it's not as broad of a coverage as if you bought it separately. But it is available. So there's just so many different policies out there.
Can insure anything. Well,
Yeah, it's
I guess
pretty
you
amazing.
need to, you know, things happen, so you
Right.
have to make sure you're covered, obviously.
Right.
What would you say the number one thing you insure in your company is?
We do. We're about 70% personal lines, so we do mostly home and auto, and the other part of it is the commercial. So we're kind of a little heavier on the personal side.
Obviously, dealing with buyers and sellers, we always have to help them get to where they need to in terms of every facet of home ownership.
Right.
So one piece, obviously, is insurance. So maybe take us through the steps of how a customer should be choosing an insurance agency and what types of questions they should be asking. You know, what type of insurance they should have for their home.
Okay. Well, first of all, if it's their first time home buyer, which is probably what you're talking about, is they've never had homeowners, so they probably have auto insurance. And if they're looking for a homeowner's policy, individual from the auto, they're not going to get the best price because the companies like to pair things up. They like to write more than one policy, and they'll give better discounts. So the first thing you want to do is find an agent that has multiple insurance companies that can offer different pricing comparisons. Because when you start putting more than one policy together, it's almost like a puzzle that we have to work with. The more we have to work with, actually, the better pricing we can give. And the more we know about you, the better pricing we can give you as well, which sounds odd, but when you call for a homeowner's quote, the more you know about the property, if it's been updated, how old is the roof, how old is the electric, what kind of electric is in there, is it 100 amp service, is it 200 amp? Is the plumbing new? Is the plumbing old? Do you have a dog? Do you have a swimming pool? Trampolines, a lot of the things that we need to know. The more you know, the better we can give you a quote. And then if we add, say we take the homeowner policy individually, it's one price. If we add one auto, it becomes a different price. If we add two autos, it becomes a third price. It's very strange how we can add more policies and actually save you less money. So save you more money actually, sorry. But it's the more you know and the more you tell us, the better you will be. And have options.
And I know things are, in terms of deductible, I mean, they come in different.
Well, years ago, people would buy a $250 deductible. And there are some people that today probably still have that on their policy. And if they raise it to a $500 or $1,000 deductible, they'll save a lot of money. And the odds of them having a claim that they put in that's under $1,000 is probably slim. They'll never put in a $250 claim because, unfortunately, companies do look at claims history when they insure you. So if they see a lot of little claims on your record, they may tend to either not insure you or raise your rate. So, or put you in a different.
So it doesn't make sense for the little ones to proceed with the claim.
Right. So $1,000. Right now we're quoting mostly everyone with a $1,000 deductible, and it does save you a lot of money. So it's worth it.
I know you talked a little bit comparisons. I mean, when people are looking for insurance, companies, should they be looking at different, variety of a couple of companies, or do some comparisons?
There's a lot of ways to mix things up, and you don't have to necessarily stay with one home carrier in the same auto. A lot of the companies now are giving discounts, even if your home is with a different company. They'll still give you the credits as long as they have it in the agency. So we know who writes what and who gives the best credits. So it's like I said, it's sort of like a little puzzle that we have to put together when we put quotes together. It's a little bit more involved than it used to be. And now there's credit scoring. I don't know if you're probably aware of that, but credit scoring is really big right now.
You may want to talk a bit about that because viewers may not be as well versed.
Unfortunately, all the companies run your credit, and we don't see the credit score, but it's called the CLUE report, and on the report it tells, there's a code that comes through, and it will tell whether or not they will even write the policy if your credit score is too low, or sometimes it will not write it because of the claims. So when we run that, we have to run your social and your date of birth, and all of the history about you and your homeowner history will come through. So every claim you've ever had, and for probably the last 5 years or so, will come up, and it will also tell us whether or not we can insure the property.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not fair. I don't think it's fair. A lot of people don't understand it. I don't understand it myself to the point where they do say that the companies have seen that a correlation between a low credit score and a high history of losses takes place. So I guess they have the right to do it. It hasn't been stopped, so.
Yeah, it's kind of tough if people, the economy as such, people going through tough times. So credit scores are dwindling, unfortunately, and that's going to impact whether somebody gets insured or not.
And it has. It really has. It's been huge. So if you're with a carrier now, if you have a homeowner's policy and you've been with them a long time, you may not be able to move. If you have if you've gone through some sort of a bad credit time, because no one else will take you. They won't cancel you once you have the coverage, but no other company will take it. It's really interesting.
We also help people with home ownership. We want to help people with rent. We do rentals as well. So in terms of rental insurance, I mean, that's another piece. Most people who are landlords want their tenants to have rental insurance.
And they should. It's really inexpensive. It's about $150 a year in Methuen to carry an apartment insurance policy. And it mirrors a homeowner's policy exactly, except for the fact that we don't insure the building. So it's every other piece of coverage you get as a homeowner, but just as a tenant. So not only do you get your contents coverage, which is your personal property, your home, your clothing, your furniture, anything you own in your house, in your apartment, And then it also you have 10% of that when you travel. So if your luggage gets stolen or in a hotel room or anything like that, or your kids are in college and their clothing is covered on campus. It covers if there's a fire in the apartment, we relocate you. We put you in a hotel while the damage is being repaired. It covers liability for. It's exactly the same as a homeowner's policy. So to not have one is crazy. But the other thing is that we also give you discount on your auto for having a renters. So you end up paying. Sometimes you end up paying less on your auto.
By having that
By
coverage.
including the two, you pay less combined than you would by itself. So a lot of times we quote it just so you can see the difference, and then you're not out on the street if there's ever a loss. So it's a good deal.
Now, would you suggest that the landlord also have their own insurance?
Well, the landlords do because they insure the building, and then the only coverage available to the tenants by the landlord is $750 for tenant relocation. So if there's a fire, the landlord gets $750 to give to their tenant and says, you're on your own. So everything else is lost. So there's no other responsibility to the tenants from the landlord. And the landlord has coverage, I can assure you. If he owns a building, he's covered. So, and on the landlord side, it makes sense for the tenants to have coverage. I can give you an example. Just recently, I had a dog bite claim, and the owner of the building had a tenant, and the tenant had a dog, and the dog bit someone, and now there's a lawsuit, and they're suing the owner of the building. Now, if the tenant had insurance, the insurance would cover the dog bite, but they don't.
Now,
so it goes back to the
whose
owner.
insurance would take it? Say they both had it, which would...
The owner of the dog would come first.
Okay. Okay.
So if a lot of times we have people that will call and say, I need insurance for my cat, and I know what they mean because there's some places that they want insurance. They want
all
the
pets.
liability.
Right.
It's a liability. They just want them to have a tenant's policy, but there's liability for damage done by an animal. So it's you get a lot of coverage for a tenant's policy, and they're so inexpensive. It's really worth it. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Typically, when we work with landlords and tenants, we always tell them that they need to have insurance. It's good practice on both ends. Maybe if you could talk a bit about umbrella policies. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding of what that actually is and the cost of it and how it does protect
Okay.
people.
All right. Well, given a simple example, if you own a home and 2 cars, that's it. You have liability on your home and you have liability on your auto. In order to buy an umbrella usually starts at $1 million of coverage. So it's a liability policy for $1 million, and it extends coverage on the home and the auto. So a claim that comes through